Hey everybody, Brian Von Vier here. One thing that everybody loves is that feeling of a crit success, a nat 20. You roll the dice and it gives you exactly what you need. But today, what was your funniest? I rolled a 1 moment. My group found information they uncovered about the past of a blue dragonborn woman in a town where she was the only dragonborn. They went to tell her what they had uncovered at first light. So they showed up at the crack of dawn saying, "We need to talk, but don't worry, we won't hurt you." As a DM, that sounded so shady that I asked for a persuasion roll just to see if she didn't slam the door in their faces after blasting them with her breath attack. Nat 1 from 3 different players. I narrated that she said to hold on a moment and slipped out the back running for her life. One of the party notices and gives chase, to which she started screaming about being kidnapped. That was when the players realized this looked really bad. And, needless to say, my players had to break out of jail and flee the town in the next session. First time ever playing D&D back in my teenage years. I was just starting to take an interest after skimming through the books, so my dad, a veteran of the game dating back to the very first printings, decided to host a short 3.5 edition campaign for myself and my friends on weekends. Given my personality at the time, I naturally rolled up an edgy heir-apparent rogue. Oh, that was rebelling from his royal blood. Oh, I am the heir to a throne. Oh, his name was being Lord Cuterman. I planned to play him entirely around stealth, weaving around the battlefield to get behind the enemy and strike them down. It was painfully obvious that I was just trying to play him like the spy from Team Fortress 2 after reading the term backstab in the ability descriptions. Well, a couple of combats go by, and after every single one, the pattern has become painfully consistent. I do nothing but get in position for the first couple of rounds of combat. Then when the biggest enemy on the field is about to do something big, I land a big, fatal blow on the enemy, immediately followed up by me or someone else rolling a natural 1 on some other check. Fighting a T-Rex that was summoned by some AWOL interdimensional wizard, nat 1 on the dex save to jump down after stabbing it in the eye, getting landed on by its eye, only being freed when the wizard stuffs the corpse in some pocket dimension, being left covered in eye jelly. Blech. Swarm of skeletons ambushing us in a cave? No matter! Ranger gets a nat 1 on an attack roll after a nat 20 caused the arrow to ricochet, causing it to fly towards me of all people, only for them to roll another nat 20, hitting me for critical damage and knocking me unconscious. Thanks a lot, Ranger! And the one that everyone in that group still gives me crap intentional wording for to this day. Taking out an orc captain on a rickety old rope bridge? Guess who rolled a nat 1 on his dex save again when the 300-pound orc I just stabbed nearly caused the bridge to flip and lost me my footing. I fell face first into the green loincloth cheeks of a freshly deceased orc captain. Such were the misadventures of the lovingly nicknamed Lord Useless and the start of my love for Dungeons & Dragons' more volatile moments. Happened in a campaign I'm in at the time of writing. This is still going on. We're looking for a place to take a long rest outside as it's almost sundown, and at this point we see skeletal remains. Our barbarian rolls to investigate it to see if we could gather some info on what's in the surrounding area. Nat 1! Then our ASMR cleric takes a shot at it. Why not? I'm divine! Also nat 1. I decide, what the heck? My kobold warlock also wants to take a swing at it, thinking I can get it anyway. Cameo appearance of a nat 20. Boom! In short, a barbarian who should know plenty about the great outdoors and a heavenly cleric were outshined by this tiny little lizard man just walking up and saying, "It's right here." Everyone had a good laugh about that one. We were playing a high-powered campaign. The starting stats were roll 3d20 and take the highest single roll. No re-rolls at all because the lowest would possibly be a 10 or so. I rolled 3 nat 1s at the same time. So, tell me about that. What got the nat 1s? What got all the 1s in your stat block there? Guys, I know a shortcut through these mountains. I've been here before. Roll a nature check. Nat 1. Needless to say, 3 days and a giant goat boss later, when we emerged through the mountains, I wasn't allowed to take the lead for a while. Oh boy, there's been a few. For example, the enemy bard assassin that Nat wonned to throw a poison dagger at our town's baron. He chopped his own toes off. But my fave? Our paladin decided to jump off a palisade wall onto a bandit with his longsword out. Is that a euphemism? He basically face-planted into a pile of mud and pig poop. 56 pounds of armor, as the DM pointed out. If that had worked, it would have been epic. The player who played Bard was struggling to come up with an insult for vicious mockery. The DM jokingly told her, "If you roll a nat 1, you can't cast a spell." She did, and she couldn't. I currently have 2 for my Alchemist Artificer character in my group's Wildmount campaign. So, possible spoilers for Wildmount? The first happened midway through the adventure known as Frozen Sick. The party was on a ship headed to Islecross when we were attacked by pirates. In the battle, my character hops out onto the ship's cannons and tries to fire it at the pirate ship, rolling a natural 1. The DM describes the cannon getting demolished by the ensuing blast, and my character getting caught in said explosion. Now, despite my character being an alchemist artificer and me not really playing into the big kaboom go brrr stereotype that artificers are infamous for, the comedy of the party artificer getting wily coyote'd on the first cannon she got her hands on was not lost on myself or the rest of the party. The second happened in a more recent session. The party is in the city of Uthodurn, where they are all invited to a ball held by the king and queen of the city. During the ball's dance competition, my character gets paired up with the party's blood hunter. Overall, we were rolling pretty well on our dance checks throughout the competition, and we assumed the finale would go just as smoothly. We roll our checks, and I roll a natural 1, which resulted in one of the heels my character was wearing to snap. Through the following series of rolls, my character begins falling. The blood hunter tries to catch her, ends up stumbling over my character and falling to the ground as well, while my character somehow managed to catch herself after colliding with the blood hunter. We ended up losing the competition, but it was a hilarious turn of events. In our Mega Man-themed Mutants and Masterminds game, that's kind of cool, there was this one generic NPC enemy, Ride Operator, a completely copy-pasted enemy who didn't even have a name, who was the most effective enemy who the party just couldn't kill due to his godly rolls. After the battle, we recruited him. We took this guy on the final mission, where we planned to have him self-destruct his ride armor in the space station's core. Just get in, blow the mech, run like hell. Dude nat 1'd on his roll to eject and got sucked into his own black hole. We'll miss you, inexplicably badass generic NPC, whatever your name was. The paladin planned to jump off of a riverboat to make a plunging attack on a bandit that was on shore. Rolled a nat 1 on the athletics check and fell face first into the neck-deep icy water. Here's a few from games I've played in or DM'd. A bandit NPC gets knocked off a bridge into the river below and rolls a strength save to keep from drowning in the rushing water. Nat 1. Proceeds to do this 2 more times consecutively. DM picked up his virtual mini, called him a fucker, and flung it off the table. Tabletop Simulator, how I love thee. Ship pilot in our Starfinder game forgot how to fire the weapons of his own ship. What does this button do? Now, in all fairness, we were in the middle of combat and he hadn't actually flown the ship in like a year. Rolled a nat 1 to hit the button to fire, accidentally opened the cargo bay doors. Next turn, rolled another nat 1 and accidentally dropped our hover van out of the cargo bay. Leonin Barbarian trying to climb up the outside of an inn. Don't ask, character was a complete nutter. Nat 1 on his athletics check. He steps on a crate and puts his foot through it, getting his foot stuck in a bag of flour inside the crate, which then exploded when he pulled his foot out, covering him in flour. Proceeds to continue trying to climb, rolls another nat 1, gets partway onto the second-story ledge, only to find it's a balcony, and the old woman sitting on her balcony drinking wine isn't too fond of the intrusion. "Oh my goodness! Get out of here, you demon! Get! He gets hit in the face with the bottle, splashing wine all over his flour-coated fur and knocking him off the side of the inn. He finally stopped trying after that. Well, in my party's Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen campaign, my character Asaeus flew up to look for some of our allies with a perception check. With advantage, of course, since as an Aarakocra, I was able to fly up super high. I got a double nat 1 though. Cue the DM's only way to explain this being dust flying into Asaeus' eyes. Asaeus cussed literally the entire way down, granted in Aarakocran, which was just bird noises to everyone else. She ended up getting the Eyes of the Eagle item next shopping trip solely to avoid this happening a second time because it annoyed her that much. Tried to jump over a bottomless pit, nat 1, and then a second nat 1 on the bone the DM threw to me. That was my first character death. Insight check on somebody who was being super genuine and kind. The bard rolls a nat 1. Other characters roll pretty well, but then when the other characters try to persuade the bard that the NPC wasn't lying, they rolled like under 10. The insight check for the bard was middling, in fact, the same number as their persuasion. Then, the subsequent interaction with the NPC had another insight check due to suspicion, and indeed, another nat 1. They mistrust this NPC for like 12 sessions. It was fantastic. A similar thing actually happened later, but it was more consequential. The party disbelief of a threat led to the destruction of the only Illithid plane shift entire ship engine that party ever encountered, even 3 real-world years later, though they've nearly gotten it functional because they let the engineer live. The nat 1 was actually on the wisdom save of a beloved NPC on a sanity check as they glimpsed the Far Realm. Ooh, that's disgusting. They had recently-ish unlocked Modify Memory. They asked if he wanted him to use it on him. He agreed. Instantly felt better, even though he felt like he'd grasped something that was no longer in reach. Eventually, he was able to fully move on. But yeah, clutch way to use Modify Memory. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please, down in the comments below, let us know what was your funniest I rolled a nat 1 moment, and also leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. We love you all, be safe, see you next time, bye for now.